to thank you guys for coming out and supporting these youths, because this is where the building starts. We build them up and we hand the baton. Dr. Beebe, would you like to say a word or two?
Give it up for Dr. Beebe.
Good evening, everyone. We're just grateful to have you out here just as community members. And when I talk about community, because we're all coming from different geographical communities, but we all belong to one community, which is the community of cycling, especially for people of color, marginalized populations. To be able to have a space to do something like this is tremendous. We're grateful for the support that you've given us. We're coming up on our 1-year anniversary of being open, even despite the flood that kind of ripped through here. But you know, just washing away certain energy, bringing good energy back in. And so we're looking forward to the future here. But as Mike probably stated, we're grateful just to all of you for providing us with support thus far. And the purpose of this event is really to nourish and pour into our folks, if that makes sense, and to really pour into these kids. Just being somebody who's from North Philly, who rode her bike around the hood on Kelly Drive, you know, in and out of those lanes as a child, and now being able to do something like this is kind of like a dream come true. So we are beyond grateful. I am going to introduce Erica Elle, and then she will move forward with introducing our guest of honor. Give me one moment here. All right, so Erica Elle, so she's an esteemed community leader in finance as well as the profession of cycling. So under her leadership as president of her cycling organization, Level Up Cycling Movement, she's delivered over 400 trainings to beginner cyclists. She's curated over 12 cycling events, including Pedal with the Pros in Miami, which was a ride experience to expose the toughest neighborhoods to pro cyclists, and has given away 150 bikes to children in surrounding communities, all while she personally mentors new leaders of cycling clubs around the country. She also created and launched Chocolate Pedals, which is a women's ride experience, providing a safe place to nurture, connect, and celebrate women who seek out the tools of cycling in order to transform their lives and the lives of their families. And she's done this for over 100 Black women. And so we also appreciate Erica because she has really taken us under her wing. She's provided us with support, mentorship, motivation. We view her as family. We are beyond grateful for what she has done for us so far in this field of cycling. So welcome to Erica and her Pro Table Talk.
Good evening. I'm going to choose this seat. Hey, girl. Okay. Good evening, Philly. Hey. Thank you guys so much for coming out. I'm not going to sit down just yet. Thank you guys so much for coming out to Pro Table Talk. We've done this, maybe this is probably our 5th time doing Pro Table Talk, but this is our first time doing it outside of Miami. So thank you guys so much for being part of this. I want to introduce you guys to a stranger. This is Justin WIlliams, the founder, creator, the mind behind Legion of Los Angeles, the man with the big vision, the man with the big plan. And I like to, you know, give some of his secrets out here and there from knowing him since 2018. I was like, you know, Justin, he moved from a place of passion because he's mad.
Always.
He's always mad.
Constantly.
He's always mad, and it's not always about the things that you can see on the bikes. It's a lot about kind of sometimes being mistreated or marginalized or not given the value that he set for himself. Everything he do for himself, it sets a tone for the rest of us. And that's the weight that he carries with him. And when I first met Justin back in 2018, it was a random text message. I met a family member of his. And I also read his article in Bicycle magazine back in 2018. It was so rare to have a person of color in Bicycle magazine, but it was the cover with you, CJ. Was Corey on there too? It was all three of them on the cover of Bicycle magazine, and it really just took the cycling world by storm. But it was really his words and how frank he was with his experience in cycling that took all of us aback. And when I read his words, I was like, oh my God, he sounded like he's sitting at my kitchen table. That's the frustration that I have with the young racers that we've been supporting from the Caribbean down in Miami. It's like they win all these races, but they have no progress. And there's nothing we can do about it. And the only thing we can do about it is build a village, band together, make sure they get exposed, and make sure that they get access to the next level. And Justin was on the same page. So as soon as we met, the first time we spoke, we probably spoke for hours because we had the very same mission, just we were on different paths, but the same destination.
I thought I was getting catfished.
I
thought I was getting catfished.
I'm gonna let you tell that story in a minute.
That's the important part. Yeah, tell that story. She like hit me up randomly. I was like, who is this lady? Whose mother is this?
Mind you, I didn't have social media. I only got social media because of Level Up, because of the movement. Go ahead. So he couldn't look me up.
Yeah, okay. So people slide into my DMs all the time. So I was like, just you hit me, and then like I think I didn't respond, and then like you hit me again, and you're like, she was super persistent, and I was like, who? I literally thought I was gonna like do this event. She invited me to this event in Miami. And like, if it was anywhere else, I would have probably said no.
Right.
But you're like, all right, it's Miami. I was like, I'm pretty safe getting off the plane. People should see me if I decide to disappear. And then like, I get in the car, and it's Erica. And like, mind you, I'm expecting like some like 40, like 50-year-old, 60-year-old like old lady that like rode bikes her whole life. And I was like, you the one that was hitting me up? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, all right, well, that's a good surprise.
And that's because the village was so small. You did not have women like you in our age group that was visible on the bikes, that was actually on the bikes. So to him, it was either men, retired men, and their wives who were supporting the retired men. So he had no idea I was another Black woman in his age group that was on the same pursuit and just as passionate as he is in this space. And so he assumed he was being catfished, but no.
100%.
He was being catfished. So this is Justin WIlliams, and tonight we're going to talk about building the village. And just in our conversation, you can see a little bit of the village that we began to build together before meeting all of you before the pandemic. And when I read his words in the Bicycle magazine and the things he was passionate about and what he said he was going to do, I'm going to make cycling accessible to everybody. I'm going to make sure, Black kids get a chance to race bikes. I knew right then and there, if this guy was going to be successful in his pursuit, he's going to need a community. And although we're on the opposite side of the country, we're going to build a community that's going to directly impact him. And he couldn't see it then, but we saw it. And we understood that one day this community was going to all connect around the country. And it was necessary to get us to the next level in the sport, to advance the sport overall. So I want you guys to give a round of applause to welcome Justin WIlliams. I'm going to take a seat, and tonight's conversation is about building the village. And this is called Pro Table Talk because it's not a panel. We're not gonna, get asked questions and just randomly talk. You're gonna hear two friends kind of for a few minutes talk about our experience and the village, where it started, what the big vision still is for the village, and where we are at this point. And it's so important. You guys are the village. It's so important to include the young people that's here, as well as other leaders in the village, and hear their perspective and on their whys, their pains and dreams, and what we can do together to continue to build the village and move forward. So let's get started. So thank you for starting at 6 a.m., you and Kit.
5:30.
5:30 a.m.
I need my 30 minutes. 5:30.
From Missouri to make it here with us on time. You two are soldiers. and I appreciate I appreciate you guys.
I didn't race the last day of Tulsa, so like I'm all right.
You all right?
If I would have raced the last day of Tulsa, I was in exile. Y'all would have had to get me off the side of the road.
So, just based on what I touched on earlier, talk to me about the village. Let me tell you guys, back in 2019, at Huddle with the Pros, Justin presented me with one of his national champ jerseys, and I still have the video where he said, I want to present this jersey to Erica because she's helped me get to this place and she's going to help me get to the next place, but what we're trying to do is kind of take a really big village. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
What did you mean about that?
I think that with the state of cycling and the way that it looks, or the way that it's looked, I just came off an injury, so being hurt, I've gotten to really take a look at everything that's transpired over the last 3 or 4 years, and I think that was 2018. So in the beginning, I was just telling Erica what I was going to do, and the racing side of it is where I really get to focus, and I have a lot of knowledge because I turned pro when I was 17. So I've seen like everything from what European racing looks like to what racing domestically looks like, to being on a good domestic pro team and then being on a really bad domestic pro team. So I've seen all of it. And I was telling her, I was like, as far as the racing goes, I know how to build a race team. The racing part is easy. A lot of times I could do the racing myself, because in 2018 I didn't have a team and I still beat everybody. So I was like, let's not worry about that. But on the other side of it, in building community and helping people kind of live authentically within the space, that was what was going to give us longevity, and that was going to be the most important part to taking this to the next level. A lot of people in cycling has taken the sport to this level where it's been like cool and people have been looking at it, but it kind of stalls out at this top, and a lot of the time it's because it doesn't have a really strong community or like brand loyalty at that level. Everybody kind of goes their own way. So building a community and making sure that we stayed hyper focused on doing stuff within, with you guys, within different cities that we travel to, doing rides, doing Q&As, doing panels, all this stuff, so that people felt like they had access to what we were doing, and we supported them the same way they supported us. That was going to be the secret sauce and what got us to the next level.
Do you think you found the secret sauce, or are you still looking? Yeah,
that was the thing I was saying, like being injured and being, the first time I ever really got to look at what we've developed and built, I was in London. I'm not English. So going to London and walking into this room where there's like a line wrapped around this Rafa store, and like everyone it's 150 people inside, there's still people outside, and like 90% of the people in that room were black. It was like, I'd never seen that before in my life. When I first turned pro, Rasan was a pro and I was a pro. Those are the only 2 black pros that I knew. And then there was some Spanish guys, but like, it just wasn't that much representation in the space. And so going from that to walking into this Rafa store where I was like the special guest, and like seeing that many people come out to support cycling and be a part of this movement, it was like incredible. And from there, like seeing you guys today, seeing some of the other stuff that we do. We show up to rides sometimes. We did a ride in DC, and it was like, even my teammates came up to me and were like, I've never seen anything like that. Like it was, and we were riding slow. Like we were just cruising. But the experience of like riding through these neighborhoods that they didn't know existed and seeing people react to bikes in a way that they had never seen. These are people that have raced in New York also. Alexis Ryan was pro for 8 years on Canyon Tram. And for her to come back to America, where she's from California. I've known her since she was like 8. So for her to come back to America and to get to experience that, I think it was super special for her. And it's like changing those experiences of even people that have raced on the highest level is absolutely important. So we've seen a lot of change. And I've seen a lot of change since I've been on the sideline doing nothing. That's
why it's so important. I like you better on the sideline. That's why it's so important.
Everybody else does too, I promise.
That's why it's so important to be yourself in this space. Like, you don't have to feel like you need to conform. Like he just said, Alexis Ryan raced on the highest level for 8 years, Pro Tour. And she came to a community ride in DC that Keisha put on, and the Bama's racing. And they put on an awesome event, and she was wowed, right? And that's the heart of our culture. That's the heart of who we are. And we get to expose, through being ourselves organically, who we are and what we bring to the sport. And it was so natural for me and you both. When I started Level Up in the image of that, I was like, I'm not scraping out our edges, right? I was very adamant about that. He was very adamant about that. And y'all think Justin put all this stuff out about Jays. Guess where he get that from?
From me? Somewhere. No, but it's true.
We wanted to make sure that we remain being ourselves,
right,
off the bike and on the bike, and not be pressured to conform into the culture that we were in. So can you talk more about that?
Yeah, I mean, I had to do that for a long time. I had to pretend like I had to either be quiet or pretend like I was somebody I wasn't to survive, have a job, be able to do the thing that I love to do, which was race bikes. Racing bikes changed my life. Like, I got to travel the country, travel the world. It's like something that growing up in LA, I never even thought about. I was like, I'm going to high school, and I'm thinking like, all right, I get to go to high school, it's just 3 miles away, and I'm thinking that's far. And like, who knew like a year later I would be in Belgium. Not the good part, I don't know if there's a good part of Belgium. I would be in Belgium, like racing bikes, or going to the north of France to race bikes, going to Spain to race bikes. Like, I would have never thought about that. And so like, the bike has given me so much perspective and so much opportunity. It was really painful to have to pretend, like, it was like, you can have this, but to have this, you have to do X, Y, and Z. And like, at some point, I was a stubborn kid, so I think I was like 20, and I was like, nah, I'm good. And I was like, I'll come home, I'd rather go to school. And I hate school. And I was like, I'd rather go to school. So I went to college, and I was like, oh, maybe I should go back to Europe. It was a tricky period, but like, being able to ride my bike changed my life. It changed the way I saw the world. It changed the way I even saw my education and the education that I was getting or I wanted to have for myself. It changed how I chased opportunity. It changed how I looked at what I wanted for myself. And I think that's the biggest thing that being a bike racer is cool, but I think the biggest thing that I understand and realize is the fact that the way I think is completely different. The way I look at business, the way I look at anything that crosses my path is completely different because of the bike. And the bike is a tool. It's a great place to like clear your mind. If you're going through something rough, go ride your bike. It's real hard to suffer. It's real hard to be mad when you're suffering. It's real hard to be mad when you're suffering. So go out and ride your bike. Look, he laughing. You're like, shit, you right. Hey. Let me tell you.
And Justin's experience with going over to Europe was very consistent with the racers that I spent a lot of time with. And so to hear him say that to me was very disappointing, and it's something else that fueled me to move forward. While I'm not a racer, it's almost like, where'd she come from? She's not a racer, she's not part of this world, but yeah, I have a community that I intend to build, and together we will, make sure the young racers that's around us get the proper exposure that they need. And so it was integral that not only they meet Justin, but Justin meet them, and he understand that there are young people that's right on his tail. Akil Campbell being one. Tennille was at the very first to pedal with the pros that you came. Tennille Campbell that races for, what's that? Bike Exchange. Yeah, they changed team. Bike Exchange on a pro tour level. And she had a chance to spend time with Justin. I don't know if you guys still talk, but it was just important. It was so important that it was literally a handful of black racers that was in pursuit of the next level, and it was so integral that they meet face to face and they learn from one another. And so we were able to facilitate that in Miami, and from that place kind of grow to Pro Table Talk and the different events that we do. So what are your thoughts? Like, what do you think? Because I know you and Rasan, some of you guys have no idea how much of an impact you have even when you just open your mouth and say something, right? And you plant something in people sometimes, a lot of times when you open your mouth and say something. I'm gonna take this a little bit further because I reflected with somebody today about this. It was Mike. We did, during the pandemic, we did Pro Table Talk over Zoom. And there was a lot of people here that we could only have 20 people in the restaurant I was able to get. And I patched you and Rasan in via Zoom. We did Pro Table Talk. And that was 2020, year 2020. And I remember before we went live, I said to you and Rasan, I said, y'all, it's a bunch of leaders in this room from new bike clubs, and they're hungry for information. It's going to be very important what you guys share with them. So we're going to go deep and give them some substance that they need. And that was Karan, that was in the room from QRT. Where are you, Karan? These guys have gone on to do amazing things in cycling. Karan, is Hank here? Hank, hey. Angela has gone on. Tricycle, where's Mike? Mike was in the room. Where is Prince? Prince was in the room. Who else was in that room? Where's Sadiq? Sadiq here? Huh? Sadiq was on the cover of Bicycle Magazine. You know, so it was, you don't realize how potent your words are, and how people take just that nugget and just go to the next level with it. Tell me if you know that. Tell me your thoughts about that.
I'm always told that I talk too much. I'm an operations manager right there. No, it's not something I think you get used to. I think for me, it's just being passionate about the things that I want to see, and the change that I'm trying to bring. So I don't think it has any, the words that I say and what I try to put out there is just what I know, the information that I have, the things that I've seen work. And so I think I mentioned in that Zoom call that, like, I can't do everything. So, like, if you guys have events or you guys are putting stuff on, like, let me know and I'll be there. Like, I'll try my best to be there. If it's not this year, it's next year. And that's how I can give back to you guys, and you guys are giving back to me by creating a space that people feel welcome and they want to show up to in your city, right? Because I'm not from Philly, so I can't. It's gonna be different from. I can show up and be like, I can give you guys words and information and inspiration, but I can't organize it like you can, because I got like 50 other things that I have going on. So, like, if you guys are building something and I can plug into it, like, I love to, and so that's how we help each other.
Right, so you understand.
Yeah, so I totally understand.
Yeah, and just from those individuals, again, they have gone on, that was 2 years ago, and just the work that they've done to impact the next set of people, the next leader, it just continuously replicate. The village grows from that place, from small places like this. So I want to, just as a racer and an entrepreneur, and I want you to talk about the entrepreneurial part, because you came in as, like you said, he hated school. He just raced bikes for 17. And I'm gonna put this out there. At one point, he wasn't very confident in his business skills. But staying in that place is not consistent with his personality. He got over it. He got over it and moved forward. Can you talk to us about that place you were in, and then how you moved forward from that?
I think anything that you start and that's new to you is going to be scary because you've never done it before. That's really natural. I think the goal is to get very comfortable with being uncomfortable, very comfortable with unknowing. Not knowing something that's most of the things you're going to do in your life when you start it, you're not going to know it. But I don't think we're taught to, like, take things on. And so you have to learn that, and it's really uncomfortable to want to do something, not know how to do it, and then have to learn how to do it. And I think in the beginning, again, I'm really stubborn, so, like, I was like, all right, well, I'll figure it out on the way, and I'll make some mistakes, but I knew it had to be done. Like, I always say, with what I'm doing right now, I've never been more clear about what I need to be doing in my life. Like, I've never had a clearer vision of what I'm supposed to be doing than right now. And so, with that is just work. Sometimes I'll do the same thing like 10 times, and I'll get to the end of it, and I'll be like, and I'll go back in my notes and realize I did it already. But it's like, that's the kind of, like, constant progression and evolving that you have to be willing to do if you want to change something. If you want to change yourself, change your life, it's just about effort. And so for me, I've had to learn so many different things with it. It feels like it's constantly evolving at a pace that I'm always falling. But it's like, I feel like now when I don't have that feeling of falling, I'm not doing enough. I'm not applying myself enough, because from the beginning, like learning how to build pitch decks and like what a pitch deck was, and like figuring out what needs to go on a pitch deck, what information is important, what information is not important. You go through this whole process of learning how to build this thing, and then you start pitching people, and at some point they don't even care about it no more.
Right.
They're just like, like tell me like the 3 important things about it, and I'm like, bro, I spent like 10 days making this. Like you need to see all of it. And so you go through these phases again. You learn how to build this pitch deck. You do this pitch deck, and then you get to a point where like people know you're coming, and then you don't even have to use the pitch deck anymore.
Right.
But it's a necessary process. You got to learn how to build the pitch deck, because you got to know what needs to be in it, because those questions are going to come. And when those questions come, you got to be able to answer it, even if they ain't look at the pitch deck. So it's just stuff like that. It's business management, it's people management, which people management is the hardest thing in the world, boy, I tell you.
Yeah.
Have you met Corey? No? It's cool.
Let's talk about that. Family business.
Oh, let's not.
And, you don't have to go too deep into it, but I know in that beginning place when you said it was never as clear as it was for you in that point, and that clarity included family legacy at the beginning. I know it's hard to do business with people, but sometimes it can be especially hard to do business with family and friends. So I guess just tell us about, I guess, like the legacy, the family legacy, and what.
Yeah, I think I have both of my brothers. They have really strong opinions. Corey is like very, very blunt, and I'm not very blunt at all. I'm the one that cares about people's feelings, and I'll tell you like 10 different ways on how to have a solution for something, and Corey be like, no, you do this, this, and this, and if you ain't gonna do that, get out my face. And so like I think me and Corey have really good balance. Like he has a very strong, not one track mind, but he has a very strong like goal oriented mind. And I'm kind of more of like a dreamer, so I'll have like a bunch of different situations and scenarios that I would love to accomplish, and then usually we'll just like yell at each other about it until we come to a middle. And like most of the time we be talking about the same thing. That's the most frustrating thing in the world. Like we be saying the exact same thing just in different ways, but I gotta be right because I'm older. So I'd be like, shut up. And then CJ kind of plays a good middleman, my middle brother, which is very stereotypical, is that he's a middle brother that like just balances both of us out. Like he's literally both of us.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a really good dynamic when most of the time we're on the same page. They both have kids now.
Yeah.
So like I'm the one that like Legion is my kid, and like they have actual kids.
Yeah.
And so like we find a balance in like how we work together, but it's always amazing having them around, because like my brothers are around, it doesn't matter who's doing what, like I'm never afraid. I always have that coverage. So yeah, having my brothers is amazing. And then also like growing up in a sport where a lot of people have you become family with people that have gone through the same struggles as you. And so a lot of people that ride for our team, either ride for or work for our team, I've known for forever. And like that is the core of like what we're doing. So family sometimes is not only blood, it's people that you go to battle with and you struggle with and like have the same trauma as you. And I think that like we've been able to build something that's so strong, and the reason that our team operates the way it operates, whether we win or lose, is because like everyone on my team understands like where we're going, and that this is more important than a bike race or a bike team. Right. So I think that's fundamentally like having my brothers and everyone understanding the relationship I have with my brothers and my family and how they're always around, and then them understanding the mission. And I'm just like, I'm straight up with what we're doing. I don't beat around the bush when it comes to that. And so everyone that rides for us subscribes to what we're doing. And so if they gotta walk around all day before a race, because it's gonna be beneficial to the bigger picture, they walking around all day before a race. Like last year in Tulsa, we went to go see Black Wall Street, and like it was like 110 degrees, and it was a 2-hour tour. And like no one's like complaining that they gotta get off their legs. Which if any other bike team, they would be like, yo, we got a race tomorrow. And like my team was like crying. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so when you have that, it's hard to fail when you have that kind of support and people like backing you up.
That's so true, and you said a keyword, core. When I mentor others, I talk about operating from that core people that's on the same page as you, that have the same aspirations as you, may have had the same traumas as you, and the same setbacks as you, but now you're kind of and focusing in the same direction, and from that core you can create waves in any direction. I choose to operate from a core because I know no matter what disruption that may come, as long as the core is tight, we're going to get to the other side of that disruption. So just to encourage you, if you're thinking of starting anything in this place, a business, a club, a movement, build your core. And it takes time. It takes time to get that core and to get that core solid and on the same page. I brought up entrepreneurship because in the village aspect, again, it's bigger than bike racing. It's bigger than bike clubs. It's all of us collectively combined, shifting the entire industry and moving it forward. So I want Mike to come to the front because I told you, Mike, Cycle Michael, one of the founders and owners of this beautiful Tricycle Bike Shop. The first time I came here was May of last year, and it literally looked like a place that you don't want to walk inside. Wow. It did look like a place, but I'm attesting to the vision he had, right? Lana and I was talking about this in the car. She said when she first saw it too, it was like, oh my God, but it was their excitement. He and his wife Adina, that's the lady at the house you met earlier, their excitement about this building. I was like, wow, was it 3 stories, 4 stories? It had no floors, it had no walls, it had nothing. And they were so excited. Their excitement, it poured into me. And I was like, whatever y'all decide to do here, your vision, you're gonna fulfill it. Because again, they had so much clarity. And I want you, Mike, you take a seat. I want you, Mike. You and Adina and Isaiah here. You're pillars in this community when it comes to Philadelphia cycling and this Tricycle Bike Shop and Cafe. Okay, and people look up to you guys. And I want you to talk to us about your place in this village, why you decided to take on Tricycle Bike Shop and Cafe, and even be frank. Tell us about some of the pains that came along with it.
I'll get you. Go ahead. Go ahead now.
Justin's like, I'm not talking anymore. I guess we can start from the beginning. When you came, that was May. There was a lot of things that people don't know about that we went through with this place from just the beginning, just from the start. I found the place, it was a bike shop and a cafe before. When it was ugly, that was their colors. Like, that was their decor. And I was like, yo, it's really dark and creepy in here. And it didn't look good. I was just like, damn, yo, I would not come here to buy anything because it was that bad. But, that's what I would have bought from here. Or change it to a haunted house. Which is bad. So I found the place in, what was it? It's right after we bought the house. July? Yeah, so we bought the house in July. So August, September, like that time frame of 2020. Yeah. So it was after we did Pedal with the Pros in February. And I will say that this man is a man of his word. He said, yo, if you do something, I'm gonna come out. You gotta get Rashawn out here because he also said, yeah, get Corey out here. But don't forget about CJ, yo. Like,
everybody likes CJ the most, bro.
Yeah, he's likable, dog. He's knocking people over and stuff.
I've been trying to get him a lion costume so he can be the mascot, but he ain't gonna wear it.
He might knock you out for that.
I'm like, here, put this on.
So, found the place, and it was a challenge just to secure the building. The realtor would not answer the phone. So they had this sign out there, and I called the sign probably like 8 or 9 times. Nobody answered. So then I went to the office, and I was just like, yo, it's this building down there, and I'd like to look at it. So my realtor came to me, and he had a suit on, but he had 2 different shoes. I'm not lying. He had 2 different shoes, and one side of his shirt was untucked. And he was just kind of awkward. And I was just like, bro, nobody's getting this building because nobody can track him down. So I was able to track him down. I was like, listen, man, we want to get the building, this and that. They put us through the ringer. I've never had a realtor ask me for a business plan for a building that I plan on renting from them. And I was like, bro, I don't want to give you the cookies. Like, then you could use it. You know what I mean? So I was just like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. I'll give you a very light version of what we want to do, and that's it, you know? So long story short, they were like, all right, yeah, we'd like to have y'all here. This fits what we want for the community. So we were able to secure the building. So the next thing was funding. Funding is difficult a lot of the times, you know what I mean? And it doesn't matter if you're doing a nonprofit or for-profit or whatever the circumstance is, like funding is not an easy thing to acquire a lot of the time, and it proved true. So we were trying to get funding, we finally got funding, and that was a mess. Got funding, and we were like, yeah, we want to open in February. They were like, yeah, all right. That really was the fact. I was just like, man, we want to open in February. They was like, yeah, all right. Y'all got to wait, what was it, 90 days?
Something like that, yeah.
He said that our SBA guy was just like, it's going to be 90 days, this and that. Turns out,
6
it
months.
didn't take 90 days, though. He just didn't know what he was doing. So that goes in with, you know, every business that I've had, I've always done the research. I've known what to expect, when to expect it, how to expect it. This is the first time that I was challenged the way that I was, it was wow.
So at this point, where you constantly get these challenges and you haven't even broke down one wall yet, right? What's inspiring you to continue to move forward?
Equality, mainly, because being a person of color, right? And I'm black. I have friends that look like me. I have friends that look like my partner Isaiah. I have friends that look like Lana, and like my service manager Rachel, and like Marzell, my consultant. And you know what I'm saying? We all look different than your average cyclist, or what someone would perceive as to be an average cyclist. And the experiences that I had when I went to bike shops was wild. And then I would hear stories from other people like, oh yeah, I'd have female friends that'd be like, yeah, I went in there and they tried to tell me to get this bike instead of that bike, and would talk down to them. I have friends that race, female friends that race, that still today get talked down to by men whose asses they whoop. Let me tell you how to take this corner. Let you not tell me how to do anything. Right?
Race
you know
me.
what I'm saying? Like, I'll whoop your behind. There's kids here, I have to keep this G rating. Sorry. So, but you know, you have those experiences, and that's what really pushed me past the first barrier. So the first barriers were finance. We're like, all right, cool. We got that wrapped up. They pushed us back 3 months from when we wanted to start. Then you have a place that looked ugly. You were here, yo. It looked bad. So we were like, all right, we got to do the remodel. We did a state-of-the-art shop for Rachel. Hook that joint up. Yeah. That's my service manager extraordinaire.
Yes.
Yeah. So we rehabbed the building, basically. We put a lot of money into it because we felt like we opened a bike shop during the pandemic. Like, there were no bikes to be had.
That was a risk.
It was very risky. It was risky and it was scary, to be like completely honest.
Yeah.
And I try to keep a cool head when it comes to most things, and I was just like, yo, this is wild. This is wild for me. Like, I've had businesses, I'm not a bike shop guy. You know what I mean? I leaned very heavily on Marzell. I leaned very heavily on Rachel the entire time. So when we say it takes a village, it takes a village. You can't do everything yourself. You can't do it all myself. I can give you a great business plan. I can write everything out. I cannot execute. I don't know how to fix a bike. I know how to tinker with a bike, but to efficiently,
It's a big difference.
very. And I learned that very fast. I built like 2 bikes, and Rachel was like, "This is trash. This is trash."
You put the thing in it.
Yeah, I was putting the things in the wrong things on top of other things. I was just like, yeah, this isn't right. So I learned very quickly that I was not a mechanic and I could not do the things. So then I was like, all right, cool. You have to have people in your corner or that support you, that believe in the things that you're doing. I know for a fact that the people that are in my corner were approached by other bike shops or other entities or other people in general, and they decided to invest in me, invest their time, their energy, their time. Yo, you can't get time back. You'll never get your time back. And these people decided, yo, I'm gonna dedicate my time. Oh shit. I'm sorry. I'm trying not to trip out.
It's okay.
But it's real though.
It's a feeling of gratefulness.
It is.
Right?
It
Because
is.
they can't get their time back,
They
and
can't.
they supporting your mission.
They'll never get it
I
back, and
understand.
they leave something. You leave something that is secure. That you know for a matter of fact, I'm gonna get a check. I'm gonna get a check. I'm gonna get a check. I'm gonna get a check.
Yeah.
Everything, right? And then I'm saying to you, yo, let's make the world different. You know what I mean?
I gotta speak to that. I gotta speak to that. That's crazy because it's literally the same thing like I'm doing. Like a dude in the back is like he's taking pictures of war zones. Look at him. He's like, who, me? Yes, you. He's taking he like took pictures of the riots that happened in LA during the Black Lives Matter movement. He was trying to go over to Ukraine. I didn't let him. Like he was doing all of that, and like he stays here and he's investing in like making like the world a better, like our world a better place. And the same thing with our head mechanic, Zach. Like he was working a full-time job he was literally about to get a promotion. And I was like, no. Scratch all that. You working for me. And he was like, he told Kit no. Like he jumped on a call with him. He's like, nah, dude, I can't do it. Like there's no security in it, like you're saying. And I was like, and then I literally called him and I was like, you're doing it. He's like, dude, I'm getting this promotion that I want. I said, this is the only point in time where this is gonna work. And if you don't invest in this now, you're not just letting me down. I'll be fine. You're letting everybody else that's gonna come along, that could come along and change this sport, you're letting all of them down. And he was like, aye.
But you had to be bold enough to speak that, right? So
Well, I believe in it.
Place that you that person.
Yeah, like
right
the same
now.
thing he's saying as far as like the equality of it. Like I've been in sports since I was 12. Like I've seen a lot of things happen. I've never seen the opportunity like we have right now to change the sport on every level, from bike shops to race teams to clubs to what the kit looks like. Like QRT killing it, KRT killing it with the kids. I'd be looking at them like, damn. What am I doing wrong? I'm like Alibaba. I make more money off of my kids than I do. Have you not seen those? They're out there. I'm like, yo, I need to make my own kids. But it's like, it's the opportunity for change is now. So to speak to what you're saying, it's like that security and people buying into what we're doing. That's the reason I show up. Like I think I'm gonna have like a 15-hour day today. I'm here for y'all.
Yeah.
Because it's important.
Yes.
Like I gotta go win Harlem because like I put that in there. But you know, I mean, it's important for me to be here because like all of this effort that's being put in on every level, from like I said, from the bike shop to Erica to like the kits to like the way that the KRT group looks to me when I'm me, it's like it's phenomenal. I'm like, yeah, like one day I'm gonna pull up, like I'm gonna be a part of it. I have to be a part of it, and it's like it's because like you guys have gotten it so far, and I'm like blown away because I ain't never seen it. All I see is these whack kids, bro. Have you seen the kids that they putting out, boy? And y'all here late. Y'all should have been here like 10 years ago. Horrible. Yo, y'all should have seen the patterns like 10 years ago. Horrible. I'm like, who would wear this? It's like one of the biggest things when I started my team was like, before I did Legion, I did this program called Concept Team. And the Concept Team was a small team out of LA that took a bunch of kids that race fixed gear and paired them up with like my middle brother CJ, because I was pro, Corey was on an elite under 23 team, and CJ was racing for like this team that was just like a local club, but he didn't really like it, and they had like 15 guys and would still show up and do nothing. So I was like, if you're gonna be on a team that ain't gonna do nothing, you might as well ride for your own team. And so I was like, I was like, let me put a team together for you. So I got together, I started doing fixed gear racing because like if you look at the fixed gear community, it's like super diverse. It's like kids that like, somebody gave them a bike. And then they start showing up to this like street racing type scene where they show up, put a cone out, and they just doing laps. And so I started getting into that because those are the people I went to high school with, and that's where I felt really comfortable. So I got like, that's where Dante came from actually. So Dante, Young, Angel Munoz, like there's like 4 guys that have gone. Literally, Dante was like this fat kid that I met that was riding a track bike that was like 4 sizes too big for him. And he like literally went from that to concept team to like, now he's on the Miami team, which is a pro team. So he is a story that we're telling. And Angel, the same thing. And it was like, that was like everything. You know what I mean?
So back to you.
Oh, sorry. That was tangent.
Back to, yeah. That was good though, but I want to hear, I guess, tell us more about, because, you know, you're not a bike racer, you know, so you.
I mean, I race bikes.
You're not just in
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does.
Okay.
I might not race them really good, but my teammates do.
I'll be helping.
I do my part.
Your big why isn't in bike racing. How about that?
Yeah.
So you push past the financing, the barriers in financing, and you move forward. Let's continue from there.
Yeah, so we pushed past the financial thing. We got funding. And we secured the building. Then we did our renovations. Then our contractor
Yeah.
did us in. So we got another 3-month delay.
Yeah.
So now this pushes us back to July.
Missed the season.
We finally, we did. We missed like pretty much the whole spring, summer season, all that stuff. But, you know, we finally opened up in July. We're open for like 7 weeks. Ida comes in. We get a devastating flood.
Flood the whole deal.
So one of the things that continue to one of the things that continuously made me drive, one of those words, and they all come together. So one of the things that pushed me and helped me to continue my drive was the fact that we were doing it for a reason. The people that showed up to help us clean up that Friday after the flood, it was amazing. Like 75 people came out in total and just came out here. But then I thought about like my friends. I thought about Prince. And when I first told him about Division, he was just like, yo, just do it. Just do it because we need it. I thought about the fact that Marzell had invested his time, that Rachel had invested her time, and I couldn't be like, yo, we turn off the lights. This is over. You know what I'm saying? Because they left good jobs to help me build my dream. I thought about the fact that Adina was just like, yo, just go get that stuff. Just do it. You know what I mean? And I had to do it. I thought about the fact that Sean from Specialized, when I talked to him initially about opening the shop back up, and I was just like, yo, I want to bring Specialized in there. Sean sat with me on Zoom for 45 minutes and said to me like, yo, I don't want to know anything. What I want to know is, what is it like to be a black man in this industry? And how can I help you? That's what he said to me. You know what I'm saying? Those things mean things. Ajwa helps me out with all the community events. You know what I mean? Lana came through. We had plans to have a tricycle race team. And because of the flood, that took all of our funding. Lana came through and was just like, yo, you want to do a race team? We doing a race team. We got left unattended for 3 days and went out and bought a damn bus. Adina came to the crib. Adina came to the crib like, yo, it's a bus in the yard. I was like, yeah, it's a bus in the yard. And then we drove this joint down to Miami. But
So good.
all that to say, like, there were multiple barriers that just kept popping up, and it's unreal. I got a good friend of mine that went to business school, and I tease him all the time. I'm like, bro, you went to business school, you ain't got to do it. I'm like, Justin, you're like, school was not for me, right? So like, I remember my first business, he was just like, you got to do it this way, you got to do it that way, you got to do it this way. And I was like, nah, man, I'm doing it like this. And just swipe the table, you know what I mean? Like, I'm doing it the way I want to do it. And he was like amazed. So I told him about everything that happened. He was like, you throwing in the towel? you got to cut your losses. Like, you really got to cut your losses because you're not going to come back.
Yeah. Yep.
And I was like, bro, watch this. I did this. I was like, yo, hold my beer. And we came back, though. You know what I'm saying? We came back. We still here. So, more importantly, since Justin here, we might as well give other announcements. July 9th,
Yeah.
1 year anniversary.
1 year! 1 year!
And not only have we made it a year, we've made differences in this industry. And we're a little shop outside of Philly. We've made a difference. We want to continue to make that difference. We want to continue to grow. We want to be the example of how other shops in the industry should treat their employees. Stop paying people $15 an hour to do grown folk labor. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Say it plain.
It's wild. Pay your people.
Talked about that. It's crazy
Pay your
because Miami Blazers was delayed for a year, and it was so important that it's like, you know what, Justin, there's no way you should be the biggest, most dynamic racer and team and organization in cycling, yet you don't pay your racers what's fair. Like, that's not gonna happen. So until we get it all the way together, then we launch.
For sure, we're one of the only professional cycling team that pays all the riders. Like, it's not common knowledge, but we're one of the only teams that pay not only all of our riders, but we pay our men and our women equally. And so, like,
Let's go.
so and it's embedded into everything that we're doing. So, like, as we develop programs, as we develop teams, it's the same thing across the board. Like, even if it takes us a little bit of time to get the right combination that we want, the idea is the same.
Yeah, there's no way, especially like being a friend and holding each other accountable. There's no way I would sit back as a friend and know that he has this program going and these young men and women aren't being paid, because that was the same thing that made us cringe the years before we got to this point. Like, how do you have people to dedicate their lives, their health, train all of this, and you give them a thank you, give me my bike back, have a good day. It was crazy and bananas. So I'm proud of you guys for taking that stance, and because you guys do it, now everybody else have to rise up to that. I'm proud of you guys for taking that stance, so go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. It is a risk. It's a risk to do it, but the risk pays off. At the very end of the day, it pays off, because you have people that want to come to work. You have people that want to do the things that they enjoy doing, and they're not like, it's Monday. I gotta go to work. They're more like, it's Monday. I go to work.
Coffee, please.
Yeah. And the coffee is slamming.
Yeah, it's true.
Coffee slamming.
Facts.
But, I say that to say, at the end of the day, it does take a support system. It takes a community. People have to invest in your vision, invest in your dream. Lana invested in the dream for our race team. We got podiums.
Hey.
And we had some little people to tell us to our face, like, yo, y'all trying to do this race team, don't be surprised if y'all don't get no podiums your first year. And that we just use that as fuel. It was a big sight, because we got she got 5. How many you got? Yeah.
Let's go, Lana.
Man, it took people to support that as well, yo. So I applaud Lana, I applaud Ajwa for being who she is and helping us out with a lot of these community events. Hassan back there cheesing because he be getting podiums. Adina, Rachel, Marzell, Kelly. I could go on all night naming names, but we got reservations that we gotta make.
I just thought it was important to pull you up here. And, you're not the completion of the village, but you're a big part of the village, because you guys and what you're doing here with Tricycle being a staple in this community, for us to come back to all the time, right? Like you're like grandma's house, right? Like while grandma's house, right? Like while we may go to this bike shop and grab a goo and here, whatever, we're always gonna come back here. If we touch down in Philly, we at Tricycle. right? And just really appreciate, and it was so important for you to see that, especially as the youth sit in front of us. And while Justin and his program is so huge and dynamic, what you guys have done here is the same exact thing. And so as they aspire to move forward in this industry, it's integral that they see is more than one thing you can do in cycling. You can always create and you can push through. Yes. Right, and you can get to the other side and be successful in this space beyond what they have done. You guys should take to the next level, right? You guys should take to the next level. And I want to take this time, and especially Prince from BCYC. Yep. BCYC is the program manager there, and a big part of the community here, the village here at Tricycle Bike Shop, and he spends a lot of time working with the youth at BCYC, high school age, right? I want you guys, if any of you want to ask a question or have a comment or get clarity on anything that we spoke about tonight, is your time. No? Everybody shy? I'm putting y'all on Front Street. It's okay.
Y'all have to see this camera.
Zyra? No? That's why we put you in the front. You're part of the show.
Open up the floor.
Open up the floor. Let's just open up the floor
Cam,
now.
you want to say nothing?
Who?
Cam's like, nah.
No?
Leave me alone.
For any questions, any comments, now is the time. Again, this same setting, but just over Zoom, is where, like he pointed out, Hank was poured into, Karan was poured into, Adrian was poured into, Mike was poured into. And when we opened up the questions, they were not shy with the questions. I still got it on video. They were not shy. Prince was poured into, and I remember very well. That's when you guys shared with me you're gonna open a bike shop in Philly that night. And I was like, wow.
Hi, I'm Elle Ramos from Saturday Night Bike Club in DC. When is the next Zoom that's popping off all these?
Actually, the Zoom was pro table talking because we were in the middle of the pandemic. We had to do a Zoom. We couldn't do it in person. So we usually do it in person, and to me, it wasn't worth risking not doing it at all. And so, but something that we do that's very similar. I don't know if you're familiar with Pedal with the Pros in Miami in December. Last year, we did launch Next Level Leadership Academy, where we get the leaders in the space and kind of bring everybody together and kind of brainstorm and talk about and learn from each other. And Rasan was there, CJ was there. You wanted to sleep. You wanted to sleep. And that was another small setting of leaders where Agile was there. We had two gentlemen from Bank City Bike Club. They were there, so it was just a smaller setting where we pour into each other and learn from each other and learn from Rasan. But Rasan had a lot of questions too, right? We had questions. We had law enforcement there to talk about how do we protect our riders on the road. So it's just a lot of different things. As leaders, we have concerns that somebody who's just showing up to ride don't have. So we make sure if you plan to come down, we'll announce that now, right? You're gonna be there, Pedal with the Pros. It's December 9th and 10th. You don't need to check your mom out. She is your Pedal with the Pros in Miami, December 9th and 10th. We do it every year. And so the Thursday before that, we do the Next Level Up Leadership Academy. So I don't foresee a Zoom happening for Pro Table Talk. As long as we can be outside, we outside, because we love outside. But any other questions?
I have a question about the name of your team, Legion. Did you revolve the word Legion around the 39 in it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So when we were first developing the idea, we had concept teaming that worked really well because it was literally a concept of what a cycling team could be. And then when we wanted to take it to the next level, it had to have an identity that would stand the test of time and people could really get behind. And so I came up with 15 horrible names, really bad, bro. No.
A couple?
No.
Not one?
They're horrible. Anyway, it's fine. Corey will tell you though, because he's the one that shot me out the sky. He was like, all of these are stupid. You need to go back to the drawing board. Control Alt Delete all of these. And so I was like running them through names, and he was like, nah, it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel right. He was playing this video game. I think it was like Far Cry or something. It was like one of those games, like Assassin's Creed or Far Cry. And in that game, you're like battling the Legion. And so like the basis of what I was looking for was like an army, right? So like, if you watch professional soccer, there's a team called Arsenal. And like, I love Arsenal. That's like one of my favorite teams. And I was like, all right, that maybe doesn't work for American culture, but like, this is the idea that I was thinking about. And then so I was like, I'm thinking about army. He was like, oh yeah, in this game you like play against the Legion. And like, Legion is an older word. Like, people don't really use it anymore. So the beauty around it was, if you take something and it doesn't if I tell you a name and your mind doesn't go exactly to the place where that name, like if I say car, you think of a car, right? But like, the beauty behind having a name that doesn't have a ton of like connection to it is that you can build what you want it to be. And so then I'll go to, like, I just plugged it into Illustrator and I was like, all right, I'll see what I can do with Legion. And yeah, as soon as I started playing with the typography, which is what I love, I went to school for graphic design. So like, as soon as I started playing with the letters, I realized that the G could make a 39, and we grew up on 39th Street. So like, it like like everything I had learned in college, like everything that I had learned in design, yes, it all came together and like designing this logo. So I was like, all right, 39. When I was growing up, we used to live in this like alley. It was like this alley that was connected to this building, and my uncles would sponsor all like our little league teams, and then we're the Alley Cats. And then like, and then we're Belizean, so we're Caribbean. So like in Rastafarian culture, like the lion is a symbol of pride, power, and strength. And so like, I was like, I need to find a lion for this. And if you take out the 39, it just says lion. So like everything like came together, and I was like, I think I've cracked the code. So that's where the name comes from.
Go ahead. I know you and Corey are super well known for that Criterion space, but what about you guys in time trials? I know you guys are like super.
Corey's the time trial state champion. Like, and it's crazy because he's just like so aero. Like, I think the guy that he beat did like 60 watts more than him, and he's still like, because he had worked on his position so much. It's like, time trials are just a money pit. First of all, let me say that. Time trials is just like, how much money do you want to spend today, sir? And so Corey had worked on like his position a ton, and we've been grateful enough, or we were blessed enough to be able to go into the specialized wind tunnel. And so he's won. He's actually was supposed to go to Belize this weekend to do the national time trial, because he's going to be doing it at the Commonwealth Games. But I think he just wants to stay home because he gets to do it anyway. So he's like, I just stay home, because he would have to go to Belize, fly back to LA, and then fly back to Belize for the road race. And so he's just gonna go do the road race. But yeah, we do a lot of stuff. Like, I do mountain biking, I do like some gravel. I don't tell anybody I do gravel because but I do like mountain biking. I have a dope mountain bike. I love track. My first national championship was on the track. And so like, I wanted to be a track sprinter for a long time. I love the Karen. It's like one of my favorite events. I love the Madison. I've done the Madison internationally. I did the Ghent 6-day Madison. I've done a couple other ones. Actually, the first time I injured my shoulder, it was on the track. So I do a lot of things. I always tell kids, like, do everything. Don't let anybody pigeonhole you into being a sprinter. Like, when I was a kid, everyone told me I was a sprinter, so I was just like, well, I'm gonna sit in and sprint. But like, it doesn't, for the long term, in your long-term development, like, you gotta know how to ride a breakaway. You gotta know how to be off the front. You gotta know how to ride a pace line and control your power, because like, at some point, all of that's gonna come back to you. And like, the more you can learn, the more you have in your bag, so that when you're in a race situation, you can like figure out what you need to do to win the race. You know what I mean? So we do a little bit of everything. Mountain biking for me, like, I try to go with like people that are okay at it, because like all my friends are like pro mountain bikers, and they're like, you're good at crits, right? And I'm like, what does that have to do, anything to do with these rocks that's on the ground? And they try to go like super fast. So like, we do a lot of that stuff. It's just like a little bit more low key. And I'm actually trying to get back on the track. So like, I love track. Track is like a secret weapon, man. Like, when I'm doing consistent track days, like, I'm pretty fast, but when I'm on the track, I'm like, Corey don't have a chance.
Yeah, you know, a lot of racers with a lot of speed spend a lot of time on track. Yeah. So definitely being more well-rounded.
It for sure is a secret weapon.
Definitely a secret weapon. Any other more questions?
You want to hit out Visa this year?
Who?
Alviso.
What's that?
North Cal Criterion.
What is that, boy? Come on now. I don't know what you talk about. Speak to me.
Alviso?
No.
Mike's Bikes.
Mike's Bikes?
Yeah.
Who that?
North Cal.
Nah, who that? I choose not to acknowledge the north side of California. No, maybe. We'll be up there for Sacramento. We're doing Lions In again in Sacramento, so we're supposed to do a couple Chris up there, but I don't know. We'll see.
October 1st.
Is it flat?
Lions Den.
Alviso, yeah, it's all
All
flat.
right, then maybe I'll be there.
Any more questions?
Questions?
Keisha?
I talked a lot about funding and a lot about like going after your vision. Into the Lions Den is actually an example when I think about things I've been trying to pitch or things I want to do, getting that buy-in from people who may not know a lot about cycling or trying to even just get the funding. Like how were you able to get the city to buy into that?
That's a great question. It's a constant struggle, if I'm being honest with you, even for me. Like from the cycling brands to the cities to everything. Like Sacramento had the Tour of California, and Tour of California is pretty successful in Sacramento, so they were easier pitch. And then the Sacramento Kings, like the people that are on the board of directors of Sacramento Kings, they're like half of them are cyclists. So that's the reason that we went to Sacramento. The next one we're trying to do is in Santa Monica. Is Red Bull is one of my partners. So it's like I'm trying to like leverage favor with people that I have relationships with and I'm already doing good stuff with, which is not like everyone doesn't have those connections. But like it's a constant struggle, honestly. Like literally today, I was on calls all day about figuring events out and teams out for next year and like where they go and how they place. And I feel like I'm constantly pitching people, which is annoying because like everybody, like the people that went to the Lions Den last year understands that like the Lions Den has been the most impactful event in cycling for like the last 10 years. And like I'm still going back.
I'm still on that high. I'm always telling people to go to Lions Den. As a matter of fact, I got Google tracking my flight. So when it go down, I'm gonna go ahead and buy my flight.
But it was like this impactful event, and it's like I'm still having to. You think like I'd go to sponsors and they'd be like, "Yeah, where do we sign?" And it's like still a full pitch. It's like still like this is what we're doing. This is why it matters. And so like that's. I always tell kids like the guilt is wearing off. So like when the guilt is wearing off, I gotta hit them with something harsh. But it's a constant struggle. You kind of just gotta pound the pavement, and like the biggest thing that has worked for me is like it's not always the people that are gonna sign the checks that are gonna be the most supportive. But you can find somebody within a company that's willing to go to bat for you, and like if they're hounding the people that write the check will get signed. And so like that's been the biggest advice that I could get you is like there's someone that's in every company that wants to see you be successful. They want to see this movement continue to grow. You have to find those people because you talking to somebody that gets stuff on their desk every day, like it's even if they're not doing it on purpose, it's just like they don't have time. But if somebody that works for them sees them at lunch and then sees them if they got to hear about your event every time they see this person, it's gonna get done. And like that is I think the most powerful piece of advice I could give to you for and they're everywhere. That's the beauty of the community is that like they're everywhere.
Yeah. I want to speak to that from a community aspect, the place that you're coming from, because, Justin got this name where somebody will take him to the table, other decision makers, but people like you and I, we still got to pound the pavement, right? And, I have been able to, especially during the pandemic where everybody was quiet, forge partnerships with municipalities and with law enforcement and with government where they're now coming to me saying, hey, Erica, when can we do the next bike thing? And I'm just like, I don't have time, It's all about relationships, like you said. It's all about the relationships, and I decided to take the long approach, right? I pinpointed who are those influential people in municipalities. It could have been the secretary or the actual politician or the commissioner, and convince them to get on the bike. Once you do that and they get that bug, it's wide open, right? Because now not long ago I did a community event in the city of North Miami, and the city manager there happened to be a friend of mine, but I encouraged her to get the mayor on the bike, get all the commissioners on the bike, get them all on the road so they can feel how vulnerable we are, right, on the road. And it's a slow ride, and it was protected by the city's police, but still they feel that vulnerability. And once you open that up, they can hear you now, right? They can hear you better. They can understand you better. So I'm a very patient person, right? I'm a very patient person. So I'll slowly pick at you, but I understand what my goals are, I understand what the mission are, and I understand that it's you that's needed for this to happen. And so I'll go at it like that, and I won't put the pressure on myself on the time frame, right? I'll just start planting seeds, and building those relationships over time. And once you turn them into cyclists, it's over with. That's it. You're one of us now, right? They're one of us now, and they make it happen, right? Like I tell Justin, just being a different part of the movement. Hey, I tell them all, hey, it's 3 cities down here. Which one you want to do a race in? Because they just waiting for me to tell them.
And
they just waiting for me to tell them.
We're gonna do one too.
It's 3 cities right now waiting for me to tell them. We gonna do a race here. Here's how much we need. And that's years of me warming it up for him to come be like, bye. Right?
Give me the money.
Right. Right. And that's the importance of the village, right? That's the importance of working together. We can't do it alone.
Yeah. So, I would say like relationships are everything. 2 things I always taught when I was a kid was always be humble. Like always be humble. Like there's no room for arrogance. Like there's no purpose for it. Like it's literally just gonna put you in a bad place or in front of the wrong people. So always be humble. The second thing that you spoke to is like when you're riding, there's people that do everything, and this is for the kids in the front. Like everybody can listen, but mainly you guys. Like when you're out on the road, you never know who you're talking to. Like you never know who you're talking to. And people that ride bikes do everything from politics to CEOs to marketing managers. Like you want a sponsorship, you might just talk to the right person and have the right attitude, and they're like, yeah, like we're gonna put you on a bike or we're gonna do something for you. So like always remember that when you're out on the bike path, you're out on the road, always be courteous, don't be doing dumbness, because like you never know who's watching you. You never know who's looking at you. And like this sport, more than anything I've ever done in my whole life, those relationships, they pay off. Like how people perceive you and how you carry yourself is everything. So
that's so true, guys. Always understand that, be aware, read the room, be aware of who's around you at all times. When you're on the bike, it's time to have fun and go to a special place in your head, whatever it means for you, but also understand, I've been declaring for the past 8 years, cycling is the new golf. But now even people who don't ride bikes, they understand it now. I see so many people on bikes now. I told you it's the new golf. It's the new golf. All the deals we made is from the bicycle.
I get to sit in a bunch of meetings and stuff for like these businesses, and like cycling has grown exponentially over the last like 2 years, 3 years. Like it was growing before, it was pretty good, but they've seen like explosive growth to the point where like you said it was hard to get bikes. It's like hard to get bikes. It's hard for us to get bikes as a pro team. Like markets these people's bikes. You know what I mean? So it's like so many people are on bikes now, and the fastest growing demographic is Black people and Hispanic people.
Black women too.
Exactly. So like a lot of things are happening. You gotta pay attention, and like you gotta always be mindful of like what's going on around you.
Buy your bike and Tricycle.
Say it again. Hold on.
Buy your bike and Tricycle.
My bike came from Tricycle. But Keisha, you guys are doing an awesome job in DC. Keep it up. It'll all connect. I'm telling you, it'll all connect. Just keep moving.
And we here for you too. Like we said it before. Like whenever we go to DC every year. So like we have a go-to-market calendar now because we're trying to be professional. You know what I mean? We're trying to get it together. So like we'll make sure that we have space for you guys when we're there. We show up early. We're the first ones to show up and the last ones to leave, because that's what we need to do to make sure that this continues to grow and make sure that we get those touch points where we can all continue to grow together.
Right. Any other questions? One more question, because it's getting dark and I feel the heat coming.
Those mosquitoes too.
Lose our reservation.
Fireflies.
One more? No more? One more? Uno más.
Alright, so just recently I started telling everybody I'm going to go pro. And Justin, you look regular. What do I got to do?
I'm not regular at all. Let me stop you right there. That's your first mistake. I would say, go ahead. You gonna add to that?
I love the. He's going pro.
Yeah.
How do I go pro?
Oh man, yeah. There's a lot of. How much races y'all got out here? Y'all got a lot of racing out here. You have like a weekly ride.
Yeah, we got a bus, bro.
They have a weekly ride. I would
Now
say
they
like.
have Velo Eric, when's Vino Velo?
Saturday. I would say consistency.
Real quick.
Shout out to Eric.
Shout out to Eric.
Local legend, yo.
Yeah.
Come on, bro. Give it up. Give it up. Will.
I would say consistency to going pro. Cycling. Criterium racing is the future of American cycling. Period.
Yeah.
Tour California's gone. Tour Colorado's gone. Tour Utah's gone. Tour Missouri's gone. Tour Georgia is gone. Like the tour model does not work for the American demographic. They've tried it over and over again. The Tour of California was successful. There's city bidding on the Tour of California, and it's gone. Criteriums are different than road racing. It's not so much just the strength. You have to develop a couple different things. And I would say consistency. Like me and Corey have raced the Criterium Tuesdays and Thursdays from like age 14 to like age 28. So twice a week when we're not racing on Saturday or Sunday. It's a whole 10,000 hour thing, but it's like 100,000 hours. What I'll say is anybody can build strength. Like to go out and train, like you got computers, you got whoops, you got power meters and coaches. Anybody can build the power. We see it now in the Peloton. If you have the power and you don't know how to turn, or if you have the power and you can't control your bike, you have the power and you can't understand positioning in the race, you're gonna finish behind me, like everybody else. So what I'll say is, if you want to be pro, figure out the little things. Figure out the tactics that people are doing. When I was a kid, I used to watch sprints in the Tour de France over and over on VHS, like rewinding to see like what Pataki is doing, what Robin McEwen is doing. We make videos now because when Corey started making videos, it was like football practice. It's like we need to watch film. What mistakes are we making? Where are we panicking? Where can we relax? Where can we save energy? Figuring out what you're actually doing is more important than being the strongest dude in the race. The strongest dude in criteriums don't win. You have to be born to win the Tour de France. You have to be genetically modified to win the Tour de France, right? Criterium racing is not the same. You might not be good at every criterium, but the physicality of it, the tactics that you have to be able to figure out at 30 miles an hour and your heart rate's at 190 beats per minute, like that is what makes a crit racer. That is what makes a consistent champion. Best buddies out here getting lucky, all right? You can get lucky with strength. You cannot get lucky and be consistent. And the reason that we cleaned up last year, and the summer's coming, and my guys are not happy right now. The girls are cleaning up. The dudes are not happy. And so expect for there to be a little bit of a shaking up of like what everyone thinks is going on. We have fielded one A squad all year. And so Corey just had a baby and I'm coming off an injury. They got about 4 weeks. And it's a different world because they're listening to someone, and everyone on my team understands what's happening in the race and how to adjust to it. So that's how you become a real pro. Like some of these people are pack fillers. They just there so we have a draft. And like if you don't want to be that, if you want to be a part of the game, you have to I put emphasis on knowing and understanding what's happening in the race. And that's how you become a pro.
I'm gonna add to this. You see how long that answer was? Your question is a real question. And when I came into this space and I started meeting all the young people that was very talented and in pursuit, I would ask them, how do you become a pro? I don't know. I was like, this is bananas, right? This is bananas. We need how do you become a NFL pro?
Right.
Can somebody answer that? High school.
You play Pop Warner.
You go to high school, you get drafted to college, and you go to college, you get drafted to pro, right? He didn't tell you that, because that don't exist, right? And one of the missions of Level Up, there's 3 missions, it had to be building a community to pro pipeline. right? Where we begin to study what is it that's required. It doesn't exist, how do we build it? And from the community, which from my standpoint is Level Up to Miami Blazers to Legion to whatever's
I mean,
next.
we have like three.
That's the pipeline.
I think we have 3 riders that have come through
We have 3 riders that's come through Level Up. And just building that and being passionate about it, like here's Justin over here that's a pro, where's the in-between? And that's the Miami Blazers and graduating those guys through. So there'll be, this process will continue, and there's no, very straightforward process right now, but if Justin when he continued to build out and to build this out from the community, that there will be that pipeline where you can say, okay, here's how I measure up, here's where I can go, here's where I can be looked at, here's the organization that'll take me to that professional status. Because right now that don't exist, and that's a lot of the building that we've been working on for years now. And so when the next young person asks that question, I want you to be able to say, here's how you become pro, rather than just saying be consistent, because that's a given. Right? And anything you're trying to achieve, you got to be consistent. But we don't have that answer yet, but we are committed to building it.
Yeah, I would say like group rides and races are where you're going to get the most experience, and like experience is everything, because you have to see it. Like stuff happens in front of me and I don't think about it, I just adjust because I've seen it like 100,000 times. And so like the only way you can really get that right now is like as much racing as possible, as many group rides as possible, and there's always people around. Like there's always people around that have information, and you gotta be a student, man. Like, cause you have to be a student because there's so many people that can give you, even if they can't give you everything, they can give you like 1s and 2s that's gonna make you better. Whether that be like tire pressure or like positioning, like why is your seat so high, or like, oh man, I keep scraping my paddle, or maybe you should try shorter cranks, and here's why. So there's always information, even if someone doesn't know anything, within this community, and it's free.
Right. It's the nurturing environment that they were missing as well. So like you mentioned, it's 3 racers that came through Level Up that's racing with Miami Blazers, and that's Hassani Hennis for Anguilla, that's Clever Martinez for Venezuela, and that's Romello Crawford from Guyana. And there's a host of them standing by, waiting. Jamal. It's a few of them standing by waiting for the opportunity, but they're not discouraged. They're still out there racing hard and working hard because they know the process is being built for them to become pros. And these guys, I was so moved, I'm always so moved by them. In order for them to even get to Miami, they have to be the best in their country. And then when they get to Miami, they don't know what's next, right? They just know I'm chasing a dream.
That was a big thing for Clever too. Clever was like, I'm here and I'm racing for y'all, but like my job is to make sure that I leave a good example so that the next kid that comes along from where I come from is in favor.
Clever spoke no English. No English. But every single time he raced, I don't care if it was a parking lot crit, he raced it hard. He raced it hard, and he went around the community asking if anybody had a job or just somewhere we could sustain and live and eat here. And then he started racing for a club a little bit north of Miami, and then next thing you know, he's in New Jersey, right? And he just moved around, and finally Miami Blazers was created, and he was just like a perfect fit. So don't be discouraged. Keep working hard. Keep working towards your dream, because it's people that's building the pathway for you, and I'm just like extremely proud. And then Justin had me in his ear like, hey.
Well, Clever was like one of the only people to beat us last year. And I was like, we were building this team, and we put like Connor Sally, Clever Martinez, and who else beat us last year? I think 3 of them. 3 of the people on Miami beat us once last year, and we were like, all right, we're gonna put y'all together and give y'all some support. Do it more.
Right. Do it more. And you see how they are? Like the dynamics, again, they have a core where they understand and have the same traumas, they have the same pain, and they just have this dynamics that.
And they want to beat us also. They like really
They will beat you.
They want to beat us so
they
bad.
They will beat you.
They want to beat exactly.
It's no beef, it's family, right?
So
it's sharpening each other's swords. So so the answer, a straight answer don't exist, but being consistent, like Justin said. So, but
utilizing the space around you.
Yeah. So, but that's it for Pro Table Talk today. I thank you guys so much. Thank you, Justin, for driving. Thank you for driving 13 hours to join us and being a man of your word. Thank you so much, Michael, for hosting us, and Adina and Isaiah. Thank you for building this awesome spot for us to gather.
One quick announcement. Pedal with the Pros, December 9th and 10th. The bus is going down. Book your spot now.
Let's go.
Hey, my bike has already got a spot.
You already know that.
He can't go.
July 9th,
I'm in.
1 year anniversary for the Tricycle. July 16th, grand opening of our second location. Oh, latte ride tomorrow. Meet up at 9. 8:30. Meet up 8:30, wheels down at 9, semi-promptly. People got jobs. Thank y'all for coming out. God bless you. Good night. Grab a book.
You saw my helmet.
Oh, sign it? Yeah, I thought you said, did you see it? Yeah.
Justin, real quick, the book.
Erica, super bike racer. This is my niece, I'm pretty sure, right here. That's Adrian. Come get a book if you want a book. Have Erica sign it. This is a really, really good book, guys.